Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra episode review. This is going to be the review for K205 Peacekeepers, 5th episode of Book 2 Spiirits. Written by Tim Hedrick, directed by Colin Heck, I think. And yeah, I like the episode, I think that's the main thing to say here. But I did feel it was the weakest one of this book so far. Not that it was like bad or anything like that, just that in my opinion it would like rank among the 5 that I've read so far as bottom. And especially coming after last week's episode, which I really liked, it did feel like a little bit of a step down. Now, I suppose another thing to say is that I think next episode is going to be really important for this one, because the Sting really at this stage is looking like it's going to be kind of the part 2 to that one, more than just it's the next episode. It really feels like these 2 episodes, Peacekeepers and the Sting, almost should have been like a 2-parter, because the way this episode ends and where it leaves a lot of stuff very open, more so than just an episode ending, in that nearly everything is left open. There's the Mako with the bombers plot left open. There's Korra with the Spiirits and where she's going, that's left open. The very little on the northern kind of stuff back at the tribe. We didn't see Tonrock in the episode. We saw Unalaq for a moment. The Milo and Tenzin stuff, while interesting, didn't really go anywhere. Like, it didn't leave it off at like a specific point. Like, we've got somewhere here. And yeah, Asami still needs to do some stuff with Varric. That was kind of not really resolved in this episode. And then the Bolin stuff, again, showing potential. Yeah, there's still stuff to come, but not this episode right now. So I just really feel like this felt like a part 1 of a 2-parter, but that type of part 1 where you really need the part 2 to make it work. Because getting into some of the specifics about the episode, there were some pretty, I wouldn't say controversial, but like big moments in this episode. The biggest of which would be Mako and Korra arguing, then breaking up. Now, I suppose the thing to say is that I'm not really a shipper. I like Mako and Korra as a couple. I have no problem with them, but I wouldn't really say like I ship them like the way people actually do ship. So I don't really have a problem with them actually going for the plot point of them breaking up. I was just a little bit annoyed at how they actually did it in this episode, because it really felt like Mako and Korra in Rebel Spirits, the first episode, there were arguments there, but for some reason it was as if that has never happened. They've never gotten over that. Like, she's been angry at Mako a couple of times this season, but has realised that she's been like in error in some ways and apologised. But then this episode she's just completely goes crazy at him. He gets really angry too, and they kind of suddenly break up. It just felt like a lot of the emotion was really kind of like forced for the breakup to happen. And now, to some extent, that could work out well in that I feel this really needs to be resolved quickly. Like, I don't want this Mako and Korra not being with each other and then they have to like get back together like at the end of this season or like next season, something like that. I really think like next episode, maybe the one after that, they need to resolve this. This book's been good so far at doing that, not having these like really emotional things go on for too long and kind of make you like really worried and kind of not like things a lot. So I'm hoping that they do that here. The fact that it was so emotional, and in the end when you look at like what their argument was about, it was just kind of that their jobs and stuff like that. They didn't really talk too much about it. It was all kind of in the heat of the moment style thing. I think they will get back together eventually, and I really hope they do it next episode, just because it's something I don't think Korra needs to carry into like the spirit focused episodes, like dealing with the breakup with Mako while she's doing all this other stuff. I really feel they need to kind of have a quick resolution, like they've been doing with a lot of stuff. Korra and her father, her parents, Korra and Mako in like the first episode. They need to quickly move stuff along. As for like what actually happened with them, what led to it, One bit I also didn't like was it was when Mako after the bomb and Mako kind of confronted the guys and they escaped. He has the evidence. He kind of goes up to her and she's like, you know, it had to be the North. And then he says like, no, no, I saw firebenders run away. You know, I have evidence, that sort of thing. And she just says, no, 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 it has to be the North. I'm just like, did you listen to what he just said? That felt like the bit, the one moment in this episode where I'm like, they could have wrote that a different way to make it come across better for Korra, because the way it's presenting her with that statement, like he has evidence in his hand that it was like a firebender, and just like, okay, I get they need to set up the breaker, that's fine, but they felt it could have been done a little bit better. Um, and then in the end, you know, it coming down to their jobs getting in the way. Obviously, Mako being a police officer, he has to be loyal to Republic City, and then Korra being the Avatar has to be kind of more about the nations. And in this case, keep bringing balance back to the world involves taking Unalaq out of power in the north and then restoring balance between the tribes. That's her role, and really it came down to just the fact that they didn't seem to respect each other's jobs. Like Korra says, all you do is like do tickets, and then all he says is that all you do is mess stuff up. And it's not really the case in either situation. They just need to talk about their roles and stuff like that. So, as I said probably 5 times already, resolve it quickly. Don't have it drag on. That'll just annoy everyone and take away, I think, from some other stuff that's important to come up. I hope this is just a little kind of thing. That this is the one kind of big moment in their relationship. They're going to have this, and then from here on out, it's going to be fine. But getting around to the rest of the episode, obviously, we have Raiko introduced here, who seems interesting enough. I suppose we didn't really get too much character on him. He seems to just be the sort of guy who wants to keep his position. He doesn't want to be seen as doing anything too rash. That's what I really got from him in this episode. That he just didn't want to go to war or do anything, that sort of kind of thing. Like, oh, if I do anything, I'll get in like poor public ratings and stuff like that. So he just basically went against everything Korra wanted to do. And I wonder where exactly they're going with him this season, besides just kind of him being against a lot of Korra's ideas, and him being against Varric as well. It's just as I said before, it's kind of just this little bit of an odd episode where, you know, a lot of stuff happened, but did that much happen in it really? But yeah. We see the return of Lynn in this episode, which was nice to see. She had a few nice lines, but wasn't really that important of a character. We saw General Iroh for a bit, and he had a fairly important line in terms of setting up where the plot seemed to be going. I don't know if they're actually going to do that now. Obviously him saying, go to see my mother is the Fire Lord, you know, my grandmother, stuff like this. Support the South and stuff like that. And then Korra decided, oh, I'll go get the Fire Nation's help, they'll help me out, and she's going there. But before that can happen, obviously she's attacked by the Spirit as well as Eska and Desna. And I like this moment because they didn't just flat out say that Eska and Desna together can beat Korra. You know, she was running away, they hit her once, but she then got them back. But then the Spirit came in and they backed off, and it was a really cool design, the Spirit. I really liked it, and the way the fight went, it was quick, but I really loved the use of the Avatar state, and then her trying to use Unalaq's technique, and it nearly working, but still not quite working. I wonder how they're going to explain, like, okay, she's come close to doing it twice now. What is the exact reason why she wasn't able to do it? This was a huge Spirit, but she was also Avatar, using the Avatar state, so maybe she should have been able to do it. Who knows? But yeah, there was a little bit of Desna character development, I felt, in the scene where the two of them go in to see Unalaq, and like the only scene he was in, and he says that still need Korra to open the spirit portal. She's the only one who can do it. And Desmond is kind of a little bit shocked, and she's like, "But you said we didn't need her." And he's like, "No, I just said what she needed to hear." And Eska didn't really react that much, apart from Korra stole Bolin and stuff like this. But definitely planting a little seed that he's kind of been lying a bit to his own children as well. So I like that they actually gave Desna something. It was a tiny line, but it really was kind of meaningful, I felt. Bolin becomes a movie star. That was interesting. He did the whole wrestling kind of babyface thing where he's just like, he says fans, he says the name of the place and gets to the pop. That was great. And then he becomes a movie star, which was pretty funny. See him in the crazy outfit and all that sort of stuff. Varric continues to be really funny every scene he's in. Though I'm kind of wondering at this stage, kind of coming back to it again, I think I said this after Civil Wars Part 1, is he kind of behind some of this stuff? Because his bio did say that he works with underground sources or something like that. Maybe the gangs are involved. Was maybe he behind this to make it appear as if the North did it, which would get people rallying behind the South for him to gain some power or more business stuff? I'm not really sure, but I still feel there's something more to Varric than just the funny guy. I'm probably completely wrong though. I'm just really getting that feeling, mainly because of that bio. Asami was in this episode a little bit more. And yeah, the part of the plan was that they're going to send mecha tanks down to the south. I don't know if that's still going ahead, but it just shows that she needs, the business is not doing that well, she needs to make sales. Other than that, the Milo Tenzin side of things, that was interesting, really interesting. Just because on the outset it didn't really appear to do anything or be that important, especially compared to the Janora stuff. That was only a minute of the episode, but it was really plot driven, really important for her character, made her seem really important. Iki in the last 2 episodes, really important in terms of helping herself get over her issues with her siblings as well as Tenzin. But then this one is just Milo and Tenzin help to train Poki, and it ends up with Milo training an army of lemurs. I've seen a few people kind of comparing it to stuff okay, he's teaching Milo, maybe he should have taught Korra that way or something like that. I'm not really sure if they were going for that, but the one little kind of emotional kind of bit I got out of this was that Milo said being the alpha lemur is hard, and Tenzin said, "I know." Maybe that was a hint at the fact that he was the only airbender once his father died, and he was always the alpha guy, the one airbender, and kind of still is the one master airbender in the world. Maybe that's what they're getting at, but I'm not quite sure. Still wondering where that side of the story is going, because we saw Bhumikaya and the other kids, but we didn't get anything from them. So where exactly is that going? And then stuff Korra was then kind of apparently swallowed by that spirit. Where is that going? What's inside these spirits? Is it a teleporter type thing? That's what I'm leaning towards right now. I doubt they'd have something where she's inside the spirit, maybe just transported somewhere, but I'm not really sure. That's, I think, most of what I have to say about this episode. The bomb plot, definitely interesting. I'm very interested in where that's going, simply because the only thing I can really think of is that maybe Varric hired them to do it, as I said, to promote more distaste with the North and something like that. But why exactly do it with firebenders? They bombed it during a peaceful protest, and I'm not really sure. The one scene we got of Unalaq saying that the Southerners are held up on some mountainside was interesting. I suspect we'll maybe get more of that war next episode, but yeah. Final thoughts on the episode are that my initial watch when I initially watched, I was a bit more disappointed than I kind of am in this video. I was kind of really negative on some of the points, but I watched it a second time just before recording this video and was a lot more positive on it. I still maintain, in my opinion, it is the weakest episode of the book, but it was still very good. It set up a lot of stuff, a lot of really interesting stuff going forward. It just maybe struggled a bit because it was a lot of setup and didn't really do anything outside of Neil trained an army of lemurs and Mako and Korra broke up. But we'll see what happens next episode. The Sting I'm really excited for, actually. Which I suppose this episode was, that's what this episode was meant to do. Set up a lot of stuff and make you excited for what's going to happen next episode, because huge cliffhanger, the mystery of the bombing stuff still open, and some other stuff still going. So, thanks for watching this review, and bye.